saying that loud. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode.
Yeah. What if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us. Just trying to figure how to make AI work. What is Allen Iverson up to nowadays? I feel like if anybody's stock has risen with the boom of AI, Allen Iverson, dude. Coming through with the fourth quarter Google Trends bump. Okay? Because if you're Allen Iverson, you're getting so much just random Googs. His website, and Googs is not a racial term for anything, okay? When I say Googs, I mean Google actions. Anyway, can he still be canceled? That's something. Can you be canceled if you have nothing to cancel you from? Okay. Sometimes I think about that. People are worried. That's a thing, is canceling people by something that's said in the past. It's some weird Terminator timeline, like going back in time. Like some people take the whole, who was the guy who was sent, John Connor? Is that who was sent back in time in the first Terminator? They like send him back in time and he's just like, here, I'm here to save you from the future. You gotta do something with this Terminator. Like that's what a Terminator is someone going back in time. They're a 1980s jacked Arnold Schwarzenegger walking around naked. If you go back and you watch that first Terminator, you see some swinging. All right. Arnold Schwarzenegger was just like, yeah, I don't give a shit. I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. Let them things swing. Okay. That's what canceling is. When you go back in time to cancel someone, it's like, you know, people always like, if you went back in time, would you kill baby Hitler? There's a lot of people, they're taking that and doing that with people's careers, where they're like, okay, let's go see them when they're an infant. And then they're just like, hey, when you were an infant on the internet, this is what you little goo gaga brain did. And now you're canceled in the current time for it, and hopefully the future. But in the timeline, yeah, I feel like it works out for people. Getting canceled as a comedian is something, you're almost like a Boy Scout where you're trying to get badges. All right. And there's a lot of comedians. It's kind of corny almost in a lot of ways, where comedians are like wanting to get canceled, where they're just like, they tried to cancel me, you know? It's like edgy, you know? It's so cool. You're like a Boy Scout badge. It's almost the equivalent of when, remember in the 90s, there was crotch shots? Like someone had a crotch shot happen, like Paris Hilton or someone, and it did wonders for her numbers, like Allen Iverson with AI, callback. And that's what I think all of a sudden, like so many other random 90s people just started getting crotch shotted. They were like, oh shit, yeah, I'll wear no underwear and get out of a car perfectly angled for a paparazzi person just to catch a crotch shot and have my stock. What would you even get back in the 90s? Would you get like Mountain Dew? Was that like the currency back in the 90s? Like what you would get? That's what, when you think of the 90s, you just think of nostalgic stuff. You just get a bunch of slap hands, little like gummy slap hands things. You remember those when you were a little kid? Those things were amazing for the first 5 minutes of playing with them. The slappy hands, where you would just fucking slap someone in the fucking face with it, dude. Just fucking, bah! And it would just stick to their face for a split second. Then you just rip them off. Dude, if you had one of those little slappy hands and you would hit it perfectly, just, and you would hit someone in the face with it, and it just stuck on their face for a split second, and then you just yank that shit back. Just yeet that shit off of their face, dude. You were king for a day. You did that to someone, and you're like, you got to do my chores for a week. Back in the 90s. Back in the 90s, baby. That's okay, baby. That's where they made me at. It's a Jay-Z line. He says, People talking about bringing the 80s back. That's okay, baby. That's where they made me at. But he doesn't rap as good as I do when I say it. Yeah, slappy hands, dude. I always think about nostalgia. It's such a powerful thing. I long for that simplicity. I don't know if I've talked about this before, but like, I love when like you're watching a movie or a show and they start eating on it. Like the food looks so amazing. What did they get? Pizza or takeout or something? You're just like, oh, that looks awesome, you know? And I think it's a simplified thing where they're just like, they're completely in the moment there. You're like, oh, they don't have any of my problems that I have right now, which is not real problems. It's just mainly that you're worried about them, you know? Profound. That's what we do on this podcast. That's all we do. Slappy hands, dude. Man, slappy hands were the best. And I caveat that by saying for the first 5 minutes, because once a slappy hand has been slappy handed a little too much, you lose that stickiness on it. And then you're just slapping people. It's disrespectful if it doesn't stick to their face. It is the truth about slappy hands. All right. Do you guys remember those little bombs you would get? They're like bag bombs. You would get them from like the ice cream man, where you would just like press it. It was like a little foil rectangle, and you would press it in the center, and it would go pop. And I think it was just a simple thing of baking soda and vinegar. I don't know if that was the concoction. That was one of the things that you did when you do like a science project for a volcano. If you never did a science project and made a volcano, did you even science as a kid? Okay. If you never, and I mean, I was homeschooled and I did that. Okay. So if you didn't do that, Jesus Christ, what were you, raised in a goddamn zoo? Yeah. What was I going to say? There was another thought I had. Sometimes when I'm doing a podcast and I'm just out here, just rocking in the free world, thoughts are almost like I'm going through space, hyperspace in Star Wars, and I'm just seeing asteroids fly by, and it's other topics that I could jump to. Where I just go, but then it's gone. I'm like, oh, that is 30,000 light years away now. Was it something about the 90s? Oh yeah, it was ice cream trucks. There are ice cream trucks that just hang out in the neighborhood that I live in. And I'm like, oh, am I in the ghetto? You ever had that realization where you think you're not in the ghetto, but just because you don't know the area? And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, I'm in the ghetto. I'm here now. But there's ice cream trucks that just hang out. That's the weirdest thing ever, ice cream trucks. They just like, why is it only cornered by the market? First of all, it should be illegal to try to sell to like 10-year-old kids, right? Like you're definitely soliciting little kids. And not only that, you're trying to lure them to your truck where you have promises of sweets and nectars and sugars and other gleeful little toys, okay? The Pied Piper of sweets for little kids. That should be illegal, right? But it just feels like, I don't know. Is there anybody who their dream was as a little kid? Like ever since they were a little kid, they just wanted to be an ice cream man. I know there's like cool hipster ice cream trucks and stuff like that. It's a matter of time before they're selling iPods out of there. iPods, iPhones, whatever. Like, why aren't they doing that? Why isn't there a ice cream truck that also just sells the things that you kind of need, but don't want to go to the grocery store for? Like, I would love an ice cream truck that drove around about 4 or 5 p.m. that sold onions. You know, when you're making something, you're like, shit, we're out of onions. I don't want to drive 25 minutes. Oh, do you hear it? And it's just an ice cream truck, but it's things you forgot at the grocery store. This is $1 million idea. Somebody write it down. Yeah, that's wild. It's wild that ice cream has completely cornered that market of neighborhood selling like that. Okay. I remember when I was a kid, dude, I got in trouble one year, which is also, it's kind of crazy looking back on that. They would just sell these. We were at my grandpa's house, and I think all my cousins were there also, and an ice cream truck came through the cul-de-sac. And we just run out, dude. It could have been a rival gang just out there waiting for us to step outside and blah, blah, blah. But you run blindly up to ice cream trucks. Surprised I didn't get snatched, okay? But I remember this ice cream truck was selling candy cigarettes, where it came in a little box of cigarettes. It looked like a legit box, but they were candy cigarettes. And did I buy a pack? Yeah, I bought a pack. And I remember sitting there and just, because it's wild. It's wild, first of all, how cool smoking cigarettes are. I look at cigarettes, and sometimes when people are smoking them, and I go, man, that's almost worth the lung cancer. That's almost worth having to talk through your neck as an old person. You know those commercials where they're just like, it's almost worth that. How cool you can look with a cigarette. Especially if you're just like reading a book and you're just out somewhere, you're just like, and what's so cool about that, because you're like, this person reads, they know this is killing them, but they still fucking do it, because what's the point of life? There's a real deep thinker, I was hanging out with some comedians yesterday, and one of them was smoking vape, and it was getting all on my face while we're talking, but it smelled like blueberry kush or something. It doesn't even smell like real blueberries, because I don't know if you've ever smelled a blueberry. By the way, what's the deal with fake blueberry smells? Who's out here smelling blueberries? Like, blueberries do not smell like what you think blueberries, like a vape blueberry. Same thing for like watermelon and shit like that. Like, it's a candy version of that, It's like completely false marketing, but we're just allowing it to happen, just like AI. Callback. Before I get out too off top, but the point with the vape, it smelled great. I was like, I don't mind this. I don't mind that I'm getting this blown in my face, and I like the smell. It's kind of I don't mind being a secondhand vapor. All right. I don't know if that's killing me. I don't know. It can't be good what's happening with vape. But I don't mind it compared to cigarette smoke. But when I was a kid, we got these candy cigarettes, and I remember sitting out there, dude, and I'd put the candy in my mouth. Should be illegal that these are candies, but I would just sit there pretending I was smoking. I remember it was like hanging out with my cousins and everything, and I would just take a hit, and I'd just be thinking about life. Shit, I'd be like, how am I going to pay the bills this month? I got these fucking kids out here. I'm just a single dad out here trying to make it. That was me at 7 years old, just sitting there thinking about life and being like, I could go out for milk and they'd never see me again. I could just start over again, maybe get the band back together, start doing rock again, start touring, just thinking about possibilities. And then I hear a commotion, and I start putting my cigarette out because I'm like, oh shit, what is that? It's my mom. My mom coming out there to bust up my smoke party, dude. Just being like, what are you doing? And I remember all of us, we got called inside. We all got in trouble. They took my smokes from me, dude. They took my whole pack. And they were just like, why would you buy that? And like, I was like, I don't know, they're candy and they're cigarettes. They're cool as fuck, dude. You kidding me? It's freaking smoking. All right. This is so cool. But I remember getting in trouble for buying a pack of candy cigarettes. And I never bought a pack of cigarettes again like that. Okay. Cigarettes fascinate me when people buy them. It's crazy to buy a carton of them. Like, I know it makes sense. And if I was a smoker, I'd be buying like on Costco. Like, if it was something that I knew I was going to buy a lot of, I'd be like, let me just buy this now, spread it out. But then I'd also look at how much I'm spending on cigarettes, and I'd be like, this is crazy. I could be buying ribeye. But just how people know their brands and know how much, it always fascinates me. They're like, oh, it's another language to me, where they're like, I'll take a red pack of some of them 180 longs. I'm like, sounds a little gay. Someone's just like, yeah, I want a 7.5-inch thick red one, long, Redskins, some shit. And I'm just like, whoa, dude. They're like, I want it to feel good when I'm sucking on it. Gay. Okay. Anyway, we just did way too much time on cigarettes. Oh, slappy hands. Where do we go from here, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. Yeah, if you watched the last episode or listened to it, East Austin Comedy Club. We just had Raza on, the creator of East Austin Comedy Club. East Austin Comedy Club got raided during South by Southwest. Not raided in a sense that SWAT dropped in and took Raza back to whatever country he's from originally. That's not what we're saying here, okay? They came in and there was some zoning issues and they shut it down, which is El Terrible. And hopefully East Austin Comedy Club rises back from the ashes. I think it will, okay? And it's going to be better than ever. If you don't know, like, that's what's so cool about this. That's what's dope about Austin comedy. And I think I've said this before, that when I first moved to Austin, I was very doe-eyed and had this idea that I was ready for opportunities. And I think it's something that happens throughout comedy and things you do in general, is you have this overinflated view of your abilities and what you are and who you are and what you can do and what you need. And I came in thinking, there's going to be a lot of opportunities and blah, blah, blah. This is going to be great for my career. It's not like acting or like something where someone can see something in you and you get a big break. Yeah, you can get breaks, especially early. And I think about that, but it's like a lot of those breaks you get early on, they're not for free. They may look dope on the outside. They're not for free, and they don't always pan out the way you think they should in the way that they will. And it's something, it's made doing stand-up much more enjoyable for me, and just my view on comedy and what I'm doing is you don't compare yourself to anyone. You can't, because it's something that you can't objectively compare when you look at career and what people are doing and what they're kind of accomplish. Yeah, we're all doing stand-up, but the truth is that we're all on different trajectories. We all have different skill sets and we're all blending differently. And it's a pointless exercise, I think, to compare yourself career-wise. Now, I do think iron sharpens iron, and you should be around people that are, when you look at just the on-stage part and you go, I need to step my pussy up. And that's what I'd be doing, is I see certain people that are around me and I go, I got to step my pussy up. Okay. And that's the big thing. All this to be said, moving to Austin, I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to have some opportunities and everything like that. But what really is the gift of moving here into such a competitive and growing and just a motivated and, I don't know, some other cool words, hub like Austin, is it makes you better. You're not going to, I think it's good I didn't, not that there was opportunities for me to just get immediately. And I did get stuff. I have opportunities and it's been amazing, but the real gold of it is being in a scene that forces you to get better. There's not a lot of competition and you're the top dog in your area. You're not going to get that much better. You kind of hit the ceiling. You need to go somewhere else. And coming somewhere like this, it forces you to get better if you want to be part of it and survive. And all that to be said, a place like East Austin breeds that. East Austin Comedy Club is just people who want to get better at comedy. It's not it's not a, I kind of talked about in the episode last time about how it's not really like a cool kids club. It's more of like, you want to get better at comedy. You want to do this. You want to be entertaining. Like, we don't care about a lot of shit. It's just be funny. Okay. And I think you need that. And that's what the big point of what you get here in Austin is a lot of different styles of comedy and also a lot of different venues and things that you have to adapt to in comedy. I think well, we don't want to get too deep into comedy. It just turns into me talking about the things that I'm like working through in my head rather than realizing that anybody's listening to this. Anyway, how are you guys? How are you living? Listen, I got to be honest with you. I have to come clean about some stuff. I love being basic. Okay. It's something that I'm realizing is that having a lawn and just a home that I have to take care of makes me happy. Okay. Pulling weeds, talking to the neighbors, trying to figure out techniques. Well, what do you guys think about the weeds this year? We getting a new breed of weeds? What's going on here? How are you guys dealing with this? The community, the camaraderie. We're out here fighting weeds together. Okay. I have great neighbors next to me. I'm trying to convince them. They do a lot of 3D printing with like dinosaurs and stuff. I'm like, I will join in on any over the fence designs you guys have. They asked me, thinking I would probably just laugh and say no, if we should build a King Kong mural on our shared electric box that's in between our grass. And I said, why don't we have a life-size King Kong and Godzilla fighting over the fence? And they laughed. And I went, well, where's the fucking joke, pal? Okay. I would love to do that. Okay. I plan on being that wacky person one day that just has life-size shit in their backyard. And people are just like, what the fuck is that? Okay. I would love to have life-size dinosaurs and Godzilla and King Kong and all of that shit that had security purposes. How dope would that be? Where someone breaks in? I mean, I plan on having a compound one day. Okay, that's the evolution of where I go from here, is a compound where people, they try to break in and it's like, yeah, oh, I'm on the property. And they're like 2 acres, 3 acres out, a quarter mile away from the actual house. They breached an invisible perimeter. Okay, yeah, there'll be a fence and everything like that. But once they breach the invisible perimeter by my settings, that's where the fun begins. Okay, that's when they start hearing the weird jungle sounds that I have set up, a mist, a fog being released in the area, and I think poisonous gases. I think that's so dope to do. Like, why wouldn't you? Because especially if I'm in Texas, that's the that's what you do is you can stand your ground. You can defend your home by any means necessary. And why not make it a little more fun and entertaining? Like, what about, it's silly to just be like, I'm going to shoot this person. Like, why not toy with them a little bit? Why not make them think about, how you go to someone's house and they have like instead of just like having candy on Halloween, they have like a mini haunted house and you just kind of walk through, even if it's just the front of their house. Cause I'm also weird about going into people's houses on Halloween. Yeah. You just go into someone's neighborhood house. It's almost the equivalent of a sketchy ice cream man on Halloween. It's like, you're just asking for trouble. You're like, yeah, let me just send my kids into this stranger's house that's decorated as a haunted house. You send in 4 kids, you're lucky to get 2 back. Okay. And even the 2 you get back are not going to be the same. Okay. They're going to have that 50,000 mile stare or whatever they call it in the books. But yeah, I want that same effect where someone goes to a haunted house and they're just like, wow, this is cool. They put so much effort into this just to get candy. That's how I want it to be on my compound. when they realize this is all one elaborate security system. Okay, when they're realizing, wow, this dude has a mechanical T-Rex that I'm now trapped in its cage-like mouth that shuts closer, closed all the way every couple minutes. It just cinches another half a foot, just, and it's a trash compactor. And I'll be there being like, taking out the trash. Okay. They would at least chuckle. They would have to respect it. Why not? Okay. Yeah, that's my goal. My dream is, that's what I want to do, is to just have some land. That's what I realize I want. I just want enough room for a man to spread his wings, okay? To not be immediately screwed if there's apocalypse and society breaks down, okay? There's some people right now that they're just set up. They're ready. They're like, oh yeah, I have propane generators. I have that. I could survive 6 months if the grid fails and everything goes down. I'm good for 6 months. I can defend this place. And then you're just like, Jesus. If everything fell down right now, I'd be good for 3 days. That's the reality of my situation. I'd be good for 3 days. I'd probably be good for a little bit longer. I do have a little bit of storage of water and propane and extra propane tank. It's just without that power, I'm going away pretty quick. But what's dope, and this is a weird thing that I've realized, I have a compound bow from archery country. Shout out Hoyt RX8. Ugh, I love it, dude. I love it. It's so dope. Been getting lessons with Jordan over at Archery Country. Shout out Jordan. He's too good to me. Okay. It's amazing to know that if the grid fell tomorrow, I would have something that I could hunt with and get deer, because there's deer around me. That's the other thing. I would at least have some kind of ability to hunt, and just be prepared and just start. I don't know. I think immediately, what do you do in that situation? Do I think about the apocalypse too much? Does that say something about me that I constantly am just like, this thing could collapse at any second? Is that a weird, not self-sabotage, but just like the other shoe's gonna drop kind of mentality? It easily could be. You almost want to be the person who's just optimistic about everything and deal with bad things when they happen. That might be a better way to live your life, is to just, you don't want to be the person that survives when the grid falls. Maybe you just want to end right there. Just be the person in like The Last of Us, that show, that just gets caught by a random stray bullet. Maybe that's what you want. Okay. Maybe you want to be the person who dies the day before the apocalypse, because you get all the emotional and attention and everything from everyone, where they're like, oh my God, everybody's like crying and like, they're doing that whole text message thing and all that. That only happens when there's not an apocalypse happening. Okay. Because if you die during the beginning of the apocalypse, dude, you're you know what you are? You're the person 6 months into the apocalypse that when someone's talking to someone else emotional around the bonfire, they just go, we lost so many people. And that's it. That's your only note in the apocalypse. If you die at the beginning of it, we lost so many. Like you're doing like you're part of the narration at the beginning of the movie, where they're like setting it up. This is like badass, unrealistic chick who's just like, we've been traveling by night. When the grid fell, so many fell with it. That's you if you die at the beginning of the apocalypse. So you either want to die the day before, maybe a week before, 2 weeks, maybe a month, because then you'll maybe get a chance to be someone's memorial tattoo on their arm. But you don't want to die too early in the apocalypse. But if you die later in the apocalypse, yeah, you got to find a sweet spot, because if you die too far into the apocalypse, everybody's going to be calloused from death. Someone's like, man, we lost. It's going to be like, that's just what happens, you know? You're going to die. Your spirit's going to be floating there. And Rick from The Walking Dead is going to be like, that's what happens to people now. Coral, you know? You're just like, oh, thanks, Rick. You couldn't even bury me? We don't have time to bury him. We got to keep moving. I got all these other people to take care of. And then you're like, you're not even going to bury me. We're going to feed him to the dead. That's what Rick's going to do with you if you die 6 months into the apocalypse. It's not like it was before, okay? You die 3 months in. Shane doesn't give a shit about you, The Walking Dead. Shane, they go be like, well, maybe we should bury him. And she's going to be like, let me tell you something, man. He's just rubbing his head over there, dude. Nah, man, we got to go. Does that seem like that's a person anymore? Anyway, I'm doing these inside jokes just for me because I like The Walking Dead, okay? Anyway, I hope no one dies. I mean, we're all gonna. Isn't that kind of crazy to think about? All right, let's not try to mind fuck anybody on a Wednesday, all right? But we do get weird on the Wednesdays. As a callback, if you're here early in the pod, you know what I'm talking about, baby. Okay? Why do we do the things we do, Evan? Yeah, we're at somewhat of a crossroads with the podcast. Okay, I'm enjoying the solo episodes. I keep going back and forth on if I want to continue to have guests or if I want to do the solo episodes and really make it 7 minutes in Evan. Okay. But anyway, that's neither here nor there right now, ladies and gentlemen. But I want to thank you guys for listening to this episode. Few shows if you're in Austin coming up at the end of the month that I'm producing. I'm in other shows in Austin, but the ones that I'm producing is going to be the 28th at Elevated Wellness. Sold out show last time, so we're hoping to recreate it. Get your tickets early. And the 30th at Wake the Dead in San Marcos. On the 30th, another sold out show. Not bragging, but you're going to want to get your tickets early to that. And links will be available at Top Flight Comedy on Instagram. There's a link tree in the profile where you can buy tickets to that. Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this episode. And don't forget, no matter what, I still love you.